So hello guys, this is me Saurus MG from SV3-in-1 and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to see about the Webb Space Telescope. Yeah, another video covering the James Webb Space Telescope. And believe me or not, Webb is actually going to be a lot more interesting because now it is launched. It has successfully launched and it's almost 2 weeks since the launch. And if you remember, it actually takes 2 weeks for the entire thing to deploy. Yes, guys, we are only 3 to 4 steps away. We are very few steps away from completing our great thing deployment. But as I tweeted today, the my as I tweeted today, we do expect the Webb Space Telescope to the first image in June 2022, as it has to cool down several times. Okay, let's get into the video. But before we get into the video, I want to wish you all a very happy new year in 2022, as this is my first video in 2022. At the end of my video, we'll also discuss what's coming up on my channel. We'll be doing coalition with Vishnu soon, very soon. I'm planning to do this, so let's get into it. So today we'll be exploring Webb's deployments, what you need to know, and where is Webb at this moment. Okay, let's get into where is Webb at this moment. Wait, what? Oh, okay, it just changed. Yeah, it's been 12 days, 2 hours, 24 minutes, and 28 seconds since this great thing launched. The Webb launched, and it's currently increasing. The distance is now increasing at this moment. About 618,000 to 618,300 kilometers from the miles from the Earth, and it has to go at least another 280,000 to get into where? I mean, to get into the L2 orbit, its orbit around the Lagrange point in Lagrange 2. The distance is about 68% complete. The cruising speed is 0.2807 miles per second, which is of course a lot since it covers 1 kilometer in just 4 seconds. And the temperature on the... Now here's the thing. If you have already discussed about the sun shield in my previous video about Webb, and in the bottom and in the upper layers of the sun shield, it'll be just kind of just really hot. As you can see, it's 131 degrees Fahrenheit, and 51, and the bus equipment panel is about 51 degrees Fahrenheit, but the exact reverse happens on the other side. On the cold side, it's negative 250 degrees Fahrenheit. In the sun shield, in the primary mirror, and the instrument radiator, it's negative 325 degrees Fahrenheit. It's near absolute zero, which is this. Yeah, you can see the big difference between the temperature. So yeah, the reason for this is pretty simple. The sun is heating up the hot side so much, but the sun shield, yeah, it's at least shielding the effects, shielding Webb from the minus. Wait, no. It covers so as I was saying, the sun shield protects Webb to allow it to take infrared images. It blocks out the radiation from the sun, the Earth, and the moon. This is really important if you want clear images. So let's get into the video. So let's get into the next portion of the video. That's what I meant. India, the most recently completed the secondary mirror has successfully deployed, and as you can see, Webb is almost looking like how it has to. I know this is amazing, right? Okay, now let's go to the need to know section. Okay, are you sure about this? Yeah, because there's nothing there. Let's see. Okay, let's explore Webb's deployments. So yeah, if you see the deployments in detail, you can just see there's so many of them. Excuse me, yeah. And we're currently not over here, but we are over here. And if you see, there are still a lot of events left, but we'll talk about that later. Let's get into the launch. So the first thing is where of course Webb will be waiting for launch at the launch pad. Webb will be now it will be at the launch site, which is in of course Kourou in French Guiana. Now just a moment. If you are wondering why it's launching from Kourou, and French Guiana is actually in South America and not in Europe. We all know this Ariane 5 was launched by the European Space Agency. So why? Why is Webb launching from Kourou, from another continent? Well, it's pretty simple. French Guiana is actually a territory of France, which of course is a part of the US itself. Not the US, it's a part of the France in itself. So yeah, and also it's on the equator. From the equator, we get a free speed boost to the east, so it's one of the best places for launch. So now we have explained the reasoning. Let's continue on. Webb will then, of course, this thing will then begin its deployment in space. But before that, we have to launch. Now here's how many miles it has to go. It's about 1,000,000 miles. Now let's continue on. And next, liftoff. We have liftoff. So this is what happened on 25th of December. The Ariane 5 all thrust propelled the James Webb telescope for about 26 minutes. The boosters and first stage are separated, of course. This is a normal thing. The second stage will fire for about 8 minutes. It was a pretty long burn. It lasted about 14 minutes. Once the second stage was in a nominal orbit, around 27 minutes into the flight, we see that Webb is separated. Webb deploys and is separated. And our next thing is the separation of the upper stage. What I was talking about. This is the nominal time event at the 27 minutes before the launch. After the launch, so the Ariane 5 launch vehicle is separated. The second stage separates, and the Webb is now on its own, which is of course pretty nominal. Webb is then now it is flying on its own in a fully stored state, and if you can see, nothing deployments have occurred yet, because that's exactly what's supposed to happen next. The next event, right after it, is the solar array deployment, of course, and the launch it happens 33 minutes after the launch. The solar array will deploy, and usually just a few minutes before the launch, until the solar array deploys, it would be being powered by battery, but the battery power will turn off, and the telescope will start up opening its own power. Then we have the mid-course correction burn. Now this happened about 12.5 hours after the launch, and this is actually the time when this is an important burn, since we have 3 mid-course correction burns. Now, if you're wondering what the 3 mid-course correction burns are, let me see. They have to correct Webb's path so that it can get into its L2 orbit. So this was a very important burn, and it successfully was completed. And it's called mid-course correction burn 1A. And it'll put. Now there is nothing else we can talk this about. Of course, it needs to make its own mid-course correction burn because the Webb gets too much thrust from the Ariane rocket, and it can't turn around thrust back towards Earth so that it directly exposes telecoms optics and structure to the sun and just overheats them and aborts the science mission before it can even begin. So this is exactly what is not supposed to happen. And yeah, uh, and it uses its own small thrusters and onboard propellant to make up the difference. So yeah, this is very important because this is really important. After that, about one entire day after launch, we will have the gimballed antenna assembly. This is where the high rate antenna is soldered, and there it is. It's very tiny over here. Now it's rotated. It would usually mounted here, and it's just kind of like rotated, and this is actually an automatic deployment. The solar deployment and the antenna deployment are automatic, while the other deployments are all done by commands from the ground. Anyways, continuing on, we'll have another thing. The mid course correction burn 1B, the second burn. It usually happens at 2 days after the launch, and this is the three burns. We have MCC1A, the MCC1B, and MCC2. And the first one was actually the most important burn. And this is actually a shorter one, which is performed before the Sunshield deployment will start. And yeah, we'll talk about MCC2 later in the video. And then you'll be noticing to get some major changes in Webb. As it begins to unfold. This is where the forward Sunshield palette, the forward utilized palette structure begins deployment. This happens usually 3 days. This happened 3 days after the launch, and the UPS actually carries the 5 folded Sunshield membranes. They're actually all folded on this thing. This thing, the shiny thing which you see is actually the thing. The spacecraft is maneuvered, and this is the start of the Sunshield deployment process, which will take about entire 3 days to complete in itself. And then we have the Aft Sunshield deployment. There's nothing to talk about this. There's nothing special. It's just that it's just the thing, like we have the Webb. We have Webb. I have forward Sunshield palette, and this is the Aft Sunshield palette. It's just the same, but the only thing is there are 2 of them. So the forward one first deploys, and the aft one, the behind one, first deploys. After that, we'll have the deployable tower assembly. The deployable tower assembly extends 1.22 meters. Now this will pull the mirror and the instruments away from the Sunshield other instruments. And if you're wondering where the solar array and antenna is, the solar panel is just under the Sunshield palette, and the antenna is over here. And if you can see, this is the entire thing. This is the mirror and the instrument that will be dragged away by a 1.22 meters thing. And this deployment is driven by a motor. And this movement provides the needed separation between the spacecraft and telescope to allow for better thermal insulation and to allow room for Sunshield membranes to unfold. Okay, we'll talk about that later. That is the next step. Prior to this, there are many devices that have been activated, like various heaters, software, and electronics. They have been configured to support deployments, and that's it. So as you can see, let's compare it to the previous step. As you can see, it's just attached, and it just goes away, kind of like just goes away. And then we'll have the deployment of the aft momentum flap. No, I forgot to say this happens just 4 days after the launch. The deployable tower assembly happens 4 days after the launch. And the aft Sunshield deployments happen the same day as the forward Sunshield palette deployment. And going on to the next deployment, we have the aft momentum flap deployment, which happened 5 days after the launch. It is helped to offset some of the solar pressure that impine, it's just like a trim tab that is used to control Webb as it goes through space, as it that continues to provide through space. And then we have the Sunshield covers releasing, which happened 5 days after the launch. And the operation releases and rolls up the protective membrane cover. So this is normal. This is normal. Yeah, this is what it was talking about. The Sunshield release cover has been protecting the membranes during the ground and launch activities. Yeah. So there's nothing to talk about this thing. The shiny things which you saw on the pairs earlier are separated, since they don't there no need to cover now. And then we have the most critical movement, the deployment of the Sunshield, which is really amazing. It happens 6 days after the launch. The port plus now this is the port mid boom. I mean, there is a starboard mid boom. The starboard mid boom is not yet activated. It has to go from the other side. And this operation is also motor driven deployment, and it has over 107 release mechanisms. 107 of the 178 release mechanisms on board Webb are in this entire Sunshield. So yeah, this is amazing, right? Now, this deployment steps include the completion of the Sunshield cover roll up. The deployment team extend the plus J2 mid boom along with the plus J2 side of the 5 membranes, and there you can see. Now, yeah, the Sunshield members, you can see them. These are the Sunshield membranes, and they have just extended, the thing. And the next step, you can see the Sunshield has taken up its step, and this also happened 6 days after launch. And just the opposite, you can see that. And then we start the Sunshield layer tensioning. Layers 1 to 3 are completed first. This is a multi-step operation that completes the final membrane releases as well as tensioning the 5 layers of the Sunshield. Now, I exactly don't know what's the meaning of centering, so if you know, please let me down in the comments. Now, these 3 layers were already activated, and it usually takes place 9 days after the launch. Well, the Sunshield and just 2 days ago, we completed the Sunshield deployment. The most critical step was successfully completed. Tensioning all, and you can see the 5 layers are separated from each other, and it's just tension kind of like. And then this is a phase that was ongoing just a few minutes before. Now, this is a secondary mirror deployment where it was actually a new date. It was 11 days after liftoff and the launch. The secondary mirror support, as you can see, it's beginning to deploy, and it just separates. As it is, the long boom just deploys, and then you can see we will have the secondary mirror deploy. And all these steps which we've discussed until this thing are completed, and from now on starts the steps that have not been yet completed. So this is the aft deployed instrument radiator. This allows gas that was released to be released, unwanted gas to be released. This is supposed to happen somewhere 12 days. I don't know, but it is supposed to happen really early. This is a future deployment. And then we have the port primary mirror wing begins. This is the 3 hexagonal mirrors, mirror segments that were folded are beginning to open, and then we have it. And then we just have it. We start to deploy it, and everything is looking good, and boom, that just locked into place. And then begin deployment of starboard wing. Now this usually happens, the port primary wing happens 13 days. Well, this happens 14 days after launch. And just like that, so this wing holds 3 and this wing holds 3. So once they have, usually it will have 12 mirror segments, but with this one and this one, we will have a total of 18. And just like that, the starboard, once the mirror thing is deployed, this is a mirror driven deployment. Webb is fully deployed. Yeah, so this is a moment where the Webb will be fully deployed, it will be original shape, but it isn't yet completed. The individual mirror segment are activated and moved test them. The primary mirror segment and secondary mirror are moved to 6 actuators that are positioned at the back of the thing. That's where the back of each mirror placed. So yeah. So this is a really important thing that happens 15 days after the launch. And then it continues. This individual. What the hell is this? Okay, anyways. This also happens 15 days after the launch, and yeah, this is all our future. It's all our future. And after then, we have the mid-course correction to burn with the engine. This happens about 26 days after the launch, and the Webb, it corrects any residual trajectory errors and adjusts the final L2 orbit. And then, boom, this is complete. Webb is orbiting L2. It'll take 29 and a half days to complete, and just like that, it'll take another 6 months to be completed. So yeah, this is how Webb is deploying, and it's currently going successful. So that was about Webb. A lot, right? And then let's get into what's coming up next in the video on my channel. So hopefully I'm planning to do a Squid Game in real life. Yeah, it's without the sets and all. They're all just without the sets. We don't have a doll. We don't have nothing. We're just a simple Squid Game with Vishnu and me. It may be releasing anytime soon. So watch out for that on updates with Twitter. And also I may give up doing videos on aviation, but it's not confirmed. So yeah. But I may adopt about geography and all, so hopefully we will be completed. So guys, that's it for today. Thanks for joining this video, and once again a happy new year to all of those who are watching, and see you all again in another video. Bye guys.